Yes, I asked Harry. So, those of you who are joining us on the yesterday was leg day, so my legs hurt. No, it's not Hot Pockets, Daniel.
Hot Pockets.
Essentially, we're live streaming to YouTube because the Mevo and the Facebook thing's broken again, and so we got more people in the chat than normal, which is fun. I like that. I wish there were a way to live stream it this way every time, because we've had such great engagement, but I don't want to cannibalize the $10. But realistically, it's like the same 5 people watching the live stream, so they may not care. But so we're taking a break in between with the live stream still going, and I asked Harry to turn on the oven because I'm gonna. I live on potatoes. I'm basically Irish. I eat a lot of potatoes, eggs, meat, and green vegetables, and that's kind of my diet. And so I'm gonna make a potato after Harry leaves because I'm hungry. So I ask him to turn on the oven, and he gives me attitude.
And you cook your potatoes on 350?
Well, I'm just getting the oven warm. I'm gonna crank it up.
Oh, okay.
Because you got to get them crispy, right?
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
Do you like soggy potatoes?
No, I don't like soggy potato. No, I like them nice and crispy, and it tastes so good. Like you just dice them or slice them and make some oven fries and a little, salt and pepper. It's good. So
I like to when I eat potato with just like a little bit of salt on it and just eat the potato.
right.
If I even have potato. I fell out of love with potatoes when I was like doing wrestling.
Nobody can hear you.
I don't.
You turn off the light too. This is a professional broadcast. What are you doing? Get the light, Harry.
I fell out
The
of
people
love
are going to realize that behind this curtain is my kitchen.
Well, when we move into the massive wall studio behind is going to be the bathroom. I fell out of love with potatoes when in high school wrestling when, because I loved them, and to get them off of our coach had us eat potatoes with skim milk. Just
Right.
to baked potato in a microwave and skim milk. Excuse me. So like that thought of baked potato always goes back to that point there. It was like, hey, you want a baked potato? No.
Right.
No, I do not want a baked potato. But no, I think the best thing about wrestling that did teach me, other than the terrible things that it's done to my psyche, is the simple fact that you'd be surprised what you can live on, and what foods you will eat. I think that's why I can eat just about anything.
Right.
And the simple fact that I can look at something I really want to eat and kind of like that willpower to no. And they're like, why? Because I've got to be 119 pounds by Saturday.
All right.
I'm not doing that ever again.
All right, let's jump into it here. Government shutdown. Let's start there. So long story short, Harry, you're mumbling under me all day today. What's going on?
I don't remember because you didn't use Trello. Like I said on the live stream, we usually use Trello.
I'm creating a monster. I'm going on record right here, right now, and saying I'm creating a monster. I'm giving Harry too much power. He's taking too many liberties. I can't get into my own Twitch channel. He's yelling at me for not doing things his way. He's being a real ENTJ right now.
I'm an ENTJ, and I've kept it. I think as an ENTJ, I have kept it in check.
You have because I won't listen to you.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
I'm no Bittner. Okay.
Right.
Come on,
I'm a people pleaser, but this is mine. I will take my ball and you go home.
But we have Trello for articles and things to bring up on the board, and Spangle decided to use two different venues. Possibly two. I haven't checked my text messages from him.
No.
Two different instant messaging venue avenues to get a hold of me about articles for the Trello board. One was Facebook Messenger, which I'm shocked I even saw those because I'm only on Facebook to troll for GIFs. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I said GIF.
Chris Galt's warning me now. He's saying take your power, but that's because you and him have had a fallout over the Discord.
I'm sorry. You thought there was.
Let's not even get into it. I love you too, and I don't want to be in the middle of it. Yeah, I'm not going to provoke this for. I
don't even know what he's talking about
for selfish reasons.
Yeah, and then you also used it on the Discord. This chance to channel. That's so So then I had to sit there and take all these little things, and I finally condensed them down to nice little Trello cards. It was awesome. And just gone off the rails off these cards.
I did this week. I went off the rails. I'm not as prepared as normal, and I had very little time today, and I was in a rush. And the only time that I had before the show, I used for a nap because I've been cranky and tired, and I wasn't going to get through tonight if I didn't. And Chris Galt, be respectful and be nice, or I'm going to have to fire you again. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to fire Galt, but calm down. Let's all kumbaya it out, bruh. So that's one I told them last week on the episode. I said, listen, I'm not going to repeat that, Daniel. That's bad. So the reason I love Galt is a button pusher.
Mm-hmm.
So he is so good on the show for content, but he's rough on the other co-hosts and me. So, all right. Yeah, so I tried to put my long screech in the your second venue, the Discord chat that you and I have, and then it wouldn't fit because there wasn't enough characters, and so I opened up my Messenger and I said it's going to Messenger and he'll deal with it, and then I just put everything in there so it was all in one central place, and I was like, he'll figure it out. So I was like, as long as I get him the information, he'll deal with it. But yeah,
you are right. I did deal with it. I like to make fun and stuff like that, but I'm more of just like, whatever, I'll take the information and I just deal with it.
Right.
You know? Yeah, I poked fun at you, but I'm more of I love receiving new information.
Right.
And to me, I like to use the Trello just to control it. And, you know, I will complain about it, but I still take it. You know, I only complain so you don't get comfortable with doing it that way.
No, I like the Trello because the Trello is good for show prep because it organizes. You can drop and drag. Like it's not clunky.
And when he does use Trello, it can get ridiculous. I think I showed the Twitch channel sometimes when you had like 30 cards in there and was like, I don't know how I'm going to get to all this.
Well, we won't. That's why we have the Wednesday show now too. So,
yep.
Long story short, on the government shutdown, it was a failed attempt by Democrats to pull a stunt that Republicans pulled in 2013. That lasted 2 weeks, and it was, you know, Barack Obama barricading off open-air monuments in Washington, D.C. for photo ops. And, you know, the most that the Trump administration did was change a voicemail message saying, we're not accepting calls because of the government shutdown. This one lasted 96 hours, I think it was. It was just like 3 days. It wasn't that long of a shutdown. It was, so it wouldn't have been, I think it was 96 because it went late. It really wasn't a big deal. These government shutdowns are not a big deal. They're political theater. It's circus. And when they shut down the government, everybody that follows this stuff on a daily basis knows that it's going to last for at most 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. They're going to eventually come to a deal, and then they're going to blame each other like crazy for whose fault it was. And it was a manufactured crisis. So the Democrats, they had to get 60. So anytime you have an appropriations bill, you have a spending bill in the Senate, you've got to have 60 votes, I guess. And so they were not any spending bill, but like a continuing resolution. So basically, they've been funding the government for years now on these continuing resolutions. They haven't been in regular order, which is the way the Constitution has written it out, for years. And they just keep kicking cans down the road and doing these little short-term funding deals and saying, all right, we're going to fund the government through the next 6 weeks. We're going to fund the government through the next 2 weeks. Now we're funded through the next 3 weeks. And they have all these different spending bills, like DACA is a bill that they want to do. They need to fund the child. They don't need to fund it. I mean, honestly, don't. The child health insurance program, basically the federal government sends money to state children's health insurance programs. What's the one here? Healthy Indiana?
Yeah, Healthy Indiana
HIP
plan.
2.0 here in Indiana. And so there's a bunch of different legislative priorities that are like a bunch of little things that need to get funded or done, and the Republicans and the Democrats can't work out deals to get it done, and Donald Trump is even less reliable in dealing with him than they're finding Barack Obama was, because Obama was just not engaged. Like, it's kind of like the last 4 years. What did he do? What did he do there? Like, he just kind of hung out and drank beers with Joe, and blew up wedding parties overseas.
Ooh, in hospitals.
Yeah, and so there's a ton of these little things.
And started the slave trade back up.
Right, and they just aren't doing their job. And they attached the continuing resolution, they attached DACA to one of these CRs, and then the Children's Health Insurance Program. The Republicans had a CR, and in the CR basically was 6 years of funding for the Children's Health Insurance Program, and they were ready to all vote on it and make that law. And then the Democrats tried to force DACA and put that into the CR, and then that blew the whole thing up. And the Republicans all said, if you do that, you're not going to get the votes to 60, and you're going to shut the government down. And Schumer said, well, we don't care because we think it'll make Donald Trump and the Republicans look bad if we do this, so let's do it. And so they did it. And they didn't get the 60 votes for the CR. And then finally yesterday, they passed it with, I think it was like 84 votes in the affirmative to pass the continuing resolution 3 weeks. And the Democrats look foolish. They tried their best to blame Trump and the Republicans, but Trump finally learned to keep his mouth shut. And he didn't really say much on Twitter. It almost started to go sideways when he started, what was he bringing up? He was bringing up ending the nuclear, getting rid of the filibuster, basically. And all the Republicans called him and said, shut up, you. You can do nothing to help us, be quiet. So this is Axios. Axios is kind of the main. Mike Allen ran Politico playbook for years, and it's the first thing that everybody in the swamp reads. So Axios, AXIOS.com is a good site. Real quick, like summaries of what's going on in the news. It's a news site. I've found it to be really good for us because, I don't want to sit here and read you more long articles. So they write, this article is titled, Republicans won the shutdown battle but may lose on immigration, Caitlin Owens. Republicans may have won the government shutdown battle, but there's still no winning strategy for the party on immigration. The bottom line, no one knows what the White House wants on immigration. So while Democrats may be taking the short-term sting from an angry base for failing, editor's note, for failing on the shutdown and ending the shutdown without, quote-unquote, getting anything in return, the bigger fight comes in 3 weeks when Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has committed to take some action on the protection for illegal immigrants who came to the U.S. as children, called Dreamers. Section, what they're saying. Brian McGuire, former chief of staff to McConnell, I think if there's one lesson here, it's that the whole idea of filibustering a government funding bill and hoping to get away with it by saying the president's name a lot was a fairly flawed political strategy. Jim Manley, a former aide to Harry Reid, Republicans won votes, but the immigration issue isn't going away anytime soon. Unless they act, these DACA recipients are going to start getting deported in a month or so. Democratic strategist, if anyone thinks voters will care about a day or two shutdown during the midterms in 200 days, they're missing the dynamic here. What voters saw is a Washington controlled by Republicans be utterly dysfunctional. A former White House leadership aide, obviously Republicans won in the short term, but going forward, Republicans in the Senate may be faced with an immigration bill open for amendment, which risks splitting them. Now, these are three things that I fundamentally disagree with. Let's go to Jim Manley's point that recipients, DACA kids are getting deported in 2 months. That's not going to happen. I don't think that any DACA person will be deported at all ever because what you're going to have is, let's look at the executive branch. Donald Trump, while he's tough on immigration, knows that the visuals of DACA people in the airport crying, hugging their families is going to kill him. He'll lose based on that alone because it's such a dramatic photo that people won't be able to handle because it's so emotional.
Yep.
So that's never going to happen. Even the hardliners on immigration all want a DACA fix to get done. The Democrats are not going to shut down the government again in 3 weeks over this. Mm-hmm. So there's this idea that there's a race to get the fix done for DACA is absolute dumb. It's dumb. Like, it's just not going to happen. Donald Trump is never going to deport DACA kids. He could say, He could not in March when he's supposed to he set this deadline for DACA kids. He could let that pass, and he could just have the Attorney General instruct just deport, like basically not follow the law, which would be the ultimate irony that Donald Trump's not following immigration law, and basically say deport terrorists, deport illegals who are in prison, deport bad guys, deport these people last. Wink, wink, meaning don't deport them. That's one option that he has available. The second option is that DACA doesn't get done, then deportations start, the proceedings start, and then judges place stays on it, and then you have judicial stays all the way until it gets to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court makes some landmark decision on, nobody's an American citizen, everybody's an American citizen type situation, depending on how that goes. And I think you'd see some sort of intervention by the federal courts to keep these kids here. Third is everybody wants to get a DACA done, according to all these political outlets that you read. Everybody from the hardest of hardliners like Tom Cotton wants a DACA fix because fundamentally these kids are Americans. Mm-hmm. They don't. I saw one of the DACA kids speak at a rally, and I'm thinking about inviting her on to tell her story. She was dynamite. Like, she's accomplished. She was great. I mean, she's not Mexican. She's Mexican, but she's American. You know what I mean? Like, these kids have been raised in America.
Yeah. She's only considered Mexican because of the landmass where she was born.
Right.
Not where she was raised, not her culture.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd also see a small recession because the DACA, the 800,000 DACA recipients, basically it's like $2 billion of our economy.
Yeah.
So you get rid of $2 billion of our economy, you have a small recession based on that. So
right, like when people think about those DACA people, they think, oh, well, I'm just going to lose like fast food workers and hospitality. No, majority of the DACA people actually have like management roles. A lot of them are college educated. Mm-hmm. Some are, even in the military right now.
Right.
They're not talking about getting rid of somebody who's just making a minimum wage here. We're talking about like real,
right.
money here.
Right.
That's if you believe in the whole fact of the Ponzi scheme of that crap. But I had to throw that jab in there. Yeah, and it's weird that because that's what everyone's thinking when they're like, well, we're going to deport these illegals, we're going to have these other jobs. Like, trust me, a lot of the jobs that some of these DACA people have, you can't have them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take them.
Right.
A lot of them, you need their degree that they had or the certification that they had. And
right.
You don't have that. And if you did, you'd be working in that field.
Exactly. They were specially trained to do that.
Now, because there's like certain electricians and stuff like that. But some of the even the electricians that are DACA, a lot of them are in Puerto Rico right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or sent over to Afghanistan. They're making bank.
Speaking of Puerto Rico, they're expecting over the next decade to lose 25% of their population, especially their young population. Because
GTFO.
Because the island is wrecked and the federal government is not doing anything. And to me, it's like old-timey 19th century racism that they're not a country at this point.
Hold on.
Or that they're not an independent country, or they're not citizens of the United States at this point.
They're citizens of the United States, okay?
Okay.
And they're not a state because they don't want to be.
Okay.
And when they really wanted to be is when they were massive in debt and they're getting ready to go bankrupt and run out of money for all this slush fund government crap down there.
Right.
They can't get stuff done down there because they turned it into a government regulation heck hole. So you can't get anything built or done right through there.
Right.
So it's not a thing of money, skill, or anything out. It's government putting these gigantic weight to any electrician that goes down there or any other company that tries to go through there and do anything. Unlike Haiti's problem with they just got done with, they just got screwed over by white people.
Right.
By white people, I mean Hillary Clinton.
Harry just wrecked me. On to the next point, that the Republicans are utterly dysfunctional. It's not a Republican problem. It's a Democrat problem.
Around the island.
Right? You have children running this stupid place. Let's see.
Yeah, and the whole thing of the chain migration. Come on, we get some of our best and brightest are here from chain migration.
Right.
Okay. I really hate that, Carla. We got to get rid of chain migration. I was no, chain migration is a beautiful thing. Of course, I'm an open borders type of guy.
You want rape and murder to enter this country at a record pace, you bastard.
See, I see, like, the thing is, like, I understand that argument because you can look at Poland, look at Germany. You kind of like, wait a minute. One of these two things are not like the other. I see what you're saying. But the other difference is, like, American women have guns.
You basically, this, by the way, is an update from Congress. This was...
Elon Musk sucks.
No, this is... stop randomly shouting out things from the chat, Harry. Nobody knows what you're talking about. You sound schizophrenic. There are hundreds of people listening to this,
That's
and
true.
10 watching that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, sorry, Harry's not having a fit. I don't need to lock him up. He's reading something and throwing out non sequiturs. So this is audio from the actual congressional leadership.
What's the matter with you? I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
That's the Three Stooges. I love that line.
Straight to my funny bone. I need a trigger warning for all Stooges, like, prompts like that.
I love it. No, this isn't a Republican failure of leadership. It is in a way, okay? It is a Republican failure in that there are no... there's no seeming desire to get out of these continuing resolutions and actually stop kicking all these cans down the road. Like, you're up to 20 cans you're kicking down the road. Like, stop. You've got to, like, actually do the business of government the way the Constitution outlined it at some point. And that's the failure of Republican leadership. The Democrats manufactured a media crisis in this government shutdown, and they lost, and they're going to pay for it in bad media for a week. And that is them playing a game and losing, so...
With the Schumer shutdown.
Right, Schumer shutdown. So on the immigration bill, it definitely can cause a lot of splits because this, I think, is the one place that Donald Trump can lose his base. And I think that if it is seen as him buckling on immigration and giving in and working with the Lindsey Grahams of the world, his base and Republicans are going to revolt. Now, I look at Lindsey Graham's policies and go, yeah, I'm probably more that route than anything Tom Cotton has to say. I'm not a closed borders person by any stretch of the imagination. I think that I'm not open borders. I think you can't let everybody in and have citizenship and get welfare benefits straight away. You've got to be selective about who you actually let into this country and have voting rights and participate in our society, and there has to be a process of proving yourself that you do believe in our values as Americans. But from an economic standpoint, it's really good to have more workers come here and work and create new industries and create new jobs. And why wouldn't we want 25% of Puerto Rico moving here? Because that's going to create a massive amount of new... Like, that's how economics works. Mm-hmm. And so as libertarians, we like economics to be... sane. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting watching him thread this needle. Anything more on the shutdown, Harry, now that it's over? Did you survive?
Barely.
Yeah.
I was down to my, had to switch to canned crab meat. Didn't want to go out to the store. Couldn't trust anything. Pre-shutdown canned crab meat.
Oh, no, that's rough.
I know.
Another Axios story scoop. FBI director threatened to resign amid Trump Sessions pressure. Christopher Wray, who has donated most of his money to Republicans, this is a scoop from Jonathan Swain that was the talk of the political press today. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, at the public urging of Trump, has been pressuring FBI Christopher Wray to fire Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. We've outlined why McCabe is a piece of garbage in previous episodes, so I won't belabor that point, but invite you to go back to some of our Russia episodes. But Wray threatened to resign and McCabe was removed, according to 3 sources with direct knowledge. Wray's resignation under those circumstances would have created a media firestorm. The White House, understandably gun-shy after the Comey debacle, didn't want that scene, so McCabe remains. Sessions told White House counsel Don McGahn how upset Wray was about the pressure on him to fire McCabe, and McGahn told Sessions the issue isn't worth losing the FBI director over, according to a source familiar with the situation. Why it matters? Trump started his presidency by pressuring one FBI director before canning, and then beginning to pressure another, this time wanting his deputy canned. This much meddling with the FBI for this long is not normal. The Department of Justice and the FBI are to be investigative branches and are to be independent branches and are not to be muddled with by the political parties and the executive and there's congressional oversight, but you're not supposed to have the president meddle in this stuff because they usually have to turn around and investigate him. Now, there's the Pollyanna way of looking at this, and that's how it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be independent. They're supposed to be non-biased. They're supposed to put justice above party loyalty and personal slights. And then there's the cynical view that they're all corrupt, they're all biased, they're all doing this for political gain, that everybody... The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I think that most people who go to work for the government, go to work like you and I go to work, they kind of hate their job.
Oh, I know they hate their job.
And they do 50% effort, and that's kind of how they work.
Just enough to get in the union.
Exactly right. And they're there to get their pension, and they're not scheming for the most part. So the civil servants that serve in the government, we besmirch them as libertarians a lot, but I don't tend to think that all of them are shady and evil. But this idea that the FBI director and the FBI and the Justice Department are supposed to be independent is not borne out by history. It's never been that way. You look at Eric Holder. Eric Holder's out there saying, "I was Barack Obama's wingman."
Yeah.
Well, you were the Attorney General. You were supposed to hold him accountable.
Yeah, come on.
Right. And then Loretta Lynch, we'll get to that here in just a moment. But
why do you think they're called Fast and Furious? They're family.
Right. So yeah,
But, like, when they try to tell me, like, a government agency is supposed to be independent, all I hear is, so the president runs the state, the FBI, they work for the state. They put me against crimes against the state. Man, it kind of seems like they're all on the same team to me.
Right.
Kind of hard to be biased when they all work for the same team.
Yep. That's exactly right. I mean, big government tends to flock together.
Right, because if one goes down, the rest of them are like, well, I'll bring you with me. Or, you took out my executive, I'll go after yours,
Now, Cheryl Atkinson, who was the CBS reporter spied on by the Obama administration using NSA, CIA, FBI tools and the Section 702 stuff, Cheryl Atkinson is a great reporter, wrote this article called "Was Lynch Coordinating with Comey in the Clinton Investigation?" Speaking to that, she writes, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch knew well in advance of FBI Director James Comey's press conference that he would recommend against charging Hillary Clinton, according to information turned over to the Senate Homeland Security Committee Friday. So there's a bunch of text messages that got turned over and released, and in them, basically, Strzok says, she knew. So why this matters is that Loretta Lynch kind of punted on the Hillary Clinton charges in the middle of the 2016 campaign and said, I'm gonna go with what Comey says. But she said that knowing that Comey wasn't going to be charged. So is she going to do the same thing if Hillary Clinton was going to be charged, or was she going to help Hillary Clinton out? I would assume that being a political appointee of the Democrats and clearly anti-Republican at this point, based on her Twitter feed, she wouldn't have been partial.
Just a little.
Right. So again, the last Attorney General undermines the idea that the Justice Department's going to be neutral all the time.
Correct, yeah. And, even during the Obama administration, we watched them go after use the IRS to go after conservative groups, and that's just what we know of.
Right. So instead of me reading this next story, Fox News was the first to report this. Obviously, you can imagine Fox News is all over the lost email stuff. I'm having a little
text messages.
Yes, thank you.
It should be in the Discord. Not Discord, but the Trello board.
I got it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, which is, it totally flies in the face of, everything like the FBI is supposed to be doing or just handling of evidence, period.
Right.
And the shocking thing is that they didn't disclose this in any of the hearings. That's the other thing. They found this out through another investigation.
Right. Yeah,
which you see once he gets the thing going. Yeah, they found out. Wasn't that like, no, they had the hearing and they disclosed. They're like, oh yeah, by the way,
right,
we lost this.
So yeah, they lost the emails, 33,000 emails. Now they've lost 50,000 text messages. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. Yep.
So this article, more than 50,000 texts exchanged between FBI officials Strzok and Page, missing. So here we go. Let's have them.
Just so convenient that they lose things.
I know.
So convenient.
Yeah.
Messages shared between an FBI agent removed from the Mueller probe and a lawyer at the Bureau. The text suggests they knew in advance that Hillary Clinton would not be charged in that email investigation, even before she was interviewed. In one exchange in 2016, while referencing former Attorney General Loretta Lynch's tarmac meeting with Bill Clinton, Peter Strzok writes, "Timing looks like hell." Lisa Page responds, "Yeah, that is awful timing." And then says, quote, "It's a real profile in courage, since she knows no charges will be brought." Let's bring in Jason Chaffetz, a former congressman, a Fox News contributor. I'm sure that fires you up, Congressman.
Well, I got to tell you, I was the former chairman of the Oversight Committee, and nothing is more frustrating than not getting all the documents from the Department of Justice. The key metric here is to make sure that they get 100% of the documents. But as it relates to that exchange, remember, it was Congressman John Ratcliffe in the House Judiciary Committee who asked very specifically of Director Comey, when did he make this decision? And he said it was done after. And I would also want to play back the tape at some point showing the Director Comey, when he went to the press release saying, to the press conference, he was emphatic. Nobody at the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, they didn't know what he was going to say. I mean, that was so misleading, if not an outright lie, based on these text messages.
So based on those text messages, we all just read them and heard them, and we can draw our own conclusions. But what conclusions are you able to draw from reading those?
Well, I mean, do you believe them at face value? I mean, these are the senior most people. This is not some rank and file, low level person who's, having an exchange. Remember, this is a guy who's engaging in an affair with another member of the Department of Justice, and they're having a very candid exchange here, indicating that the Attorney General herself knew in advance, before she made her public statement, what the conclusion of this result was. And they had not yet interviewed the main subject of this investigation, Hillary Clinton herself. For the FBI director...
All right, let's pause it there. And now I want to play Jim Jordan. He's head of one of the heads of the Freedom Caucus, talking about these missing text messages. Sorry.
Let's talk about what's happening inside the FBI. Congressman, you have been all over this, and now we learn that the FBI is missing months of text messages between two people who were, having an affair, but more importantly, talking about how they were going to have an insurance policy to stop President Trump from being president.
Yeah, they're not just missing text messages from anybody. They're missing from two key people. Peter Strzok, who ran the Clinton investigation, interviewed Huma Abedin, interviewed Cheryl Mills, interviewed Secretary Clinton, changed the exoneration letter, the now famous exoneration letter from gross negligence, which is a criminal standard, to extreme carelessness. Peter Strzok, who helped run the Russian investigation, and interviewed Mike Flynn. That Peter Strzok, with all these text messages between him and Lisa Page, where they talk about Trump should not be elected president, we need an insurance policy, he should lose $100 million to zero. Now we find out 5 months of text messages between these two individuals come up missing. This is like the dog ate my homework. The excuse they give. This is something that just should not take place. So we need to get to the bottom of it and find out what exactly happened.
All right, Representative Jim Jordan with all.
So yeah, you've got these two who are key to the entire Mueller investigation, eventually fired, and now all these messages. And some have suggested that the messages, the rumor going around Washington D.C. is that there is a secret society within the, and not necessarily in like Illuminati conspiracy theory terms. This is just how the particular congressman who has been briefed on some of this stuff put it. But basically they said it's a secret society where, gosh, I'm trying to find this. I'm sorry, I'm so unprepared. And you now see how important preparation is, right? Because I'm a bumbling fool without it.
That you are.
I am. You got to have it. You got to have preparation if you want to do a good show. So I apologize to our paying members for having such a bad show. Anyways, the secret society is basically that they're plotting the Russia investigation, and they are plotting taking down Trump, and they're using the Mueller investigation and the to damage his presidency, and that the Clinton funded Fusion GPS document was the foundation of the FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. And if that's the case, like, that should be game over for Section 702 in FISA. There needs to be serious reforms to the NSA spying powers, because it's a scandal of epic proportions if they're using these tools to fight terrorists to spy on presidential campaigns.
They're American citizens, and they're inside the landmass. They're going to get caught up in doing it anyways. It's already there. And, and it's, regardless, like, 702 and FISA needs to be, messed with anyways. Mm-hmm. And that and the way the NSA spies anyways, it's junk and crap. So, right. And the idea of why wouldn't you spy on a presidential campaign and use it to take people out?
Yeah. And so
who thinks, honestly, like, if you looked at the Republicans' field, right, the field of people they stacked against Trump, and it's like, how could these people not really beat him? Mm-hmm. At first, it makes more sense, that the NSA got to some of them, especially Bush, mm-hmm. because, like, if they have dirt, they just have to show them, or just tell them, hey, called your dad, you should probably sit down.
Right.
But that's another. But how much of a walk is it that they are doing? But the other thing is that we are supposed to believe the NSA, the United States government's got all this massive spying network out there, spying all these things, putting these cases together, and putting people away for long periods of time for crimes. Yet they can't somehow, save 50,000 text messages and they just lose those.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of guys and women listening to, like, I've got 50,000 texts from an ex or from a current lover, and they will bring them back out.
We should put a crazy young white girl in charge of maintaining text message records.
Yep. And emails. Like, right. I got your email right here.
Right. We need a scorned black woman to run the FBI.
Single mother. And right. She would have it all. She'd be on the ball. Everything would be organized. It'd be awesome.
Right. Yeah. I listening to Ben Shapiro. He had somebody who is a person who knows crypto technology and works in the government, and basically said the redundancies on text messages of government employees is able to survive a nuclear strike, to survive a 9/11, to survive natural disasters. Like, the idea that they just lost some text messages,
it doesn't happen.
It's either a preliminary report and they are going to find them from Verizon somehow, or there was some sort of cover-up within the FBI to get rid of these. The rumor that I found was that it was the two of them talking about hoping the president would be assassinated, and that was one of the reasons that these got deleted. Rumors, but nonetheless, these two people clearly hated the president, as we've outlined. We're not going to talk a ton about the Russia investigation because, like, it's clear to me that the Russians were trying to meddle in the American election. Like, that's the thing to talk about.
Duh.
Cybersecurity is important. Harry will tell you that, but yes. I'm not going to ask him because he'll never stop.
But the thing is like, do we interfere in the Russian stuff? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. Does Russia go after the British government too? Probably. Right. German? Yep. Uganda? Possibly. Anywhere their interests are, or just want to, like, lofty just want to troll somebody. I'm sure they've messing with everyone, just like the United States does. But the thing is, it is coming to a head that, like, a lot of these bigger companies are people to understanding that, like, tech security is important, and you can't do away with IT security like you've done away with a lot of people's IT department. Like, the idea that you can get someone, hey, secure my site, this one-time hit, and then never see them again,
right?
Or see them again next year, or see them after, like, several different times. That doesn't happen. You can't do that. That doesn't work because threats are always happening. You have to be good and on point every day. A cracker has to be good to get in your system once. Remember, like the guy that got in the FBI, dude, that was when he got in there, that was a 2-year job that he did, and he poked for 2 whole years to get inside there to find out, because he found a small hole, but he knew if he attacked it right there, the FBI would, they'd close the hole. So what he did was for 2 years he waited and just kept poking it once in a while, so they just thought it was normal. This poke is normal. This poke is just something the internet does. Poke, poke, poke. He waited. Never got blocked and waited for long enough, and then he got into it and used it to hack. And that's one way that someone used to get inside. It's one way. That's one of my favorite ones to tell people that you always have to be on your game. You always have to keep updating and changing things and looking at different things, because if you rest in your laurels, someone will find a hole and will, they will go after as soon as they're ready.
Well, and that's the DNC didn't. The DNC and Podesta didn't do that. Yeah. His password was password. The Russians definitely hacked all that information and gave it to WikiLeaks. That's just my gut feeling on it. But did they collude with the Trump administration to win an election? No, I don't think that they're competent enough to do that. Steve Bannon says that the Trump campaign was not competent enough to collude with Russians.
Yeah, well, they tried and they failed.
Right.
And there's more evidence to saying that the swamp or aka secret society had more to do with Trump being elected, because they took out every other viable candidate against Hillary Clinton. Right. And they tried to put the worst person they could possibly do to get Hillary in office.
Yeah, and Hillary,
that's if you buy in that conspiracy theory.
Right, and I read What Happened by Hillary Clinton, and I put the only relevant excerpts in the We Are Libertarians Facebook group, photographed the pages, so you don't have to purchase or check out that book. And she makes a fairly credible case that Comey cost her the election. He's one of the big reasons she lost that election. So yeah, I don't want to talk about the Russian investigation too much more, because I just think we've said all there is to say about the Mueller investigation. But we will talk about the investigation of the investigation, because I think you're going to see that really. I think there's some there, and that's one thing that Peter Strzok said in these text messages. That one of these congressmen said. Peter Strzok said, "There's no there to this election, or to this scandal, to the Russia stuff. So why did they pursue it?" But so his gut was that nothing happened with Trump and the Russians. So, and that's from the FBI agent who hates his guts and wants to set him up. So I think you're going to see a real push by the congressional Republicans, Senate Republicans, and the Trump administration to get the truth about what's going on in the FBI. And we will talk about that more at length, but I think it's just kind of early to dive into that. So I just wanted to give you some of the basic facts of what's going on and give you some preliminary opinions. But we'll see. It's going to be real exciting.
Oh, yeah. It's always exciting.
All right, man. Final thoughts?
Well, I'm glad we survived the shutdown. I spent a lot of time in the basement, scared, wondering what's going on in the outside world. Matter of fact, the last time I left the house was Friday for Liberty and Chill, and I stayed indoors the entire time, the entire weekend. Didn't want to leave. Too scared. Okay? Stayed in there.
It's not your crippling social anxiety and autism?
No, of course not. Never. Never. No. Those are the only reasons why. But it always surprises me that the scariest thing, I like to believe that the government is incredibly incompetent and they can't get anything accomplished. That's why I dismay a lot of different conspiracy theories now, becoming older and noticing this stuff. And I think them getting rid of these text messages and emails in such a fashion grows more to they're not the best and brightest. They are incompetent, because a competent hacker will know, there's no way we can delete 3 months of emails and not no one notice. They're like, all right, we'll just make a couple fake ones. How are we going to do that? Dude, $50 in India. I can make a conversation back and forth and make it look like we've been talking for 5 years. They fix the timestamps on it. Boom, it's in there, and just submit that. No one's going to look at it if it's just stupid text.
Right.
Even if it's broken English, no one's going to care. They just want the evidence to be there.
Right.
You know, the timestamp. Just the same with when you go to delete logs and different things. You can't just go out like, I'm going to delete all the logs. You delete all the logs, someone's knowing you're going to be in a... Anyway,
I think some of I think some of the media is getting this confused because there's no way two people sent in 6 months 50,000 text messages between the two of them.
I don't know.
I mean, 10,000 a month is pretty aggressive.
Have you seen some of these,
maybe
young millennials? Okay.
Well, they're Gen Xers. They're old. They're almost boomers.
Oh yeah, that's true.
She might be a millennial, but he's definitely a Gen Xer.
Who knows? Maybe they don't sit next to each other, so that's how they communicate. All through the day, they don't get to talk.
Yeah,
but who knows? But yeah, this 50,000 email text message. But there's probably like it's just, I think it wasn't like a 3-person group text or something like that.
I don't know that.
I can't remember the name of the people that was in it, but yeah, it was, and it is going to eventually going to come out that someone's going to find these text messages, and if they do not find them, it goes more to show you that it is a cover up, and it's a very sloppy one.
Yeah.
And if someone's like, will someone probably get fired for this? Yeah, some low-ranking guy that'll probably take the fall for it. And
it'll be Peter Strzok.
Yeah, and he'll just go off into the sunset and make some 6-figure salary somewhere else.
Right.
Because he took the fall for it.
It'll be like Clear and Present Danger. What if Peter Strzok's Harrison Ford in Clear and Present Danger?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for joining us here on this episode of We're Libertarians. We're so excited that you are Patreon subscribers, and you guys are absolutely the best listeners in the entire world, and I love you so much. If I could tongue kiss each and every one of you, I would, but that's not possible. I would kiss the guys and say no homo afterwards, so why? I can promise that.
What, 2 guys can't kiss another guy without it being, homosexual?
One of the things on the Trello board that I put in there is for future shows on the idea board is I don't want to have sex with trans people. Trans people, don't make me. Because there's this thread in the trans and LGBTQAI LMNOP movement that you are bigoted if you would not have sex with a trans woman.
You are bigoted, It's going to be the best night of your life. It's like having the Swiss Army knife of sexual partners. That's if you get that joke reference, you're awesome.
I don't want the corkscrew. Okay, I'm out on the corkscrew. So
it's Eddie Izzard for the people that don't have no idea.
I love Eddie Izzard. He's so funny. If you've never watched Eddie Izzard's comedy, do it. He's hilarious. But no,
did he run for parliament?
Did he?
I think he thought about it.
I would totally vote for Eddie Izzard, even though he's a socialist. So
best dressed parliament.
I don't mind if that makes me a bigot. Then I guess call me a transphobe. I don't care. Like I like you're just asserting your cis privilege if you wouldn't make love to a trans woman.
Okay.
All right, that's fine. I'm.
No, I'm just messing with you, man. I gotta, I don't want to end the show with like, man, I can't believe Harry thinks that way. Like, no, I'm messing with Chris. You have sex with who you want to have sex with,
right? And
if that's if you just want to have, now is that like, I don't want to get in the weeds.
Eddie Izzard's dressed.
I don't want
to
know who you really want to.
Luke Jolo from the he says Dressed to Kill, and that's right. That's the best. That's the one I saw. So. All right, thank you for joining us here on this episode of We're Libertarians, and we will see you next time.
Bye.